Hey, what's
I
going on,
love it.
everybody? We are not talking about quantum computers. The title card came up with us. Welcome, everybody, joining us live. We're here to do a live react of ChatGPT 4.5, which should be coming online here very soon. They'll be going live, whoever it be, Sam or others from the team. And when we usually have announcements like this, when we can, we like to do a live react to it. So hang out with us, join us. Jump in the comments if you're with us and let us know what you're most excited about. This is an interesting live one where we kind of know what we're going to see versus sometimes when we do live reacts we don't even know what they're going to announce. And this one they've been pretty open about the fact that it is GPT 4.5, and they're going to, I'm sure, go over what that means. Carl, you had shared it's not called the scorecard. I forget what it's called. It's like a 31-page document that talks about everything with GPT 4.5, and that's already out there. It's dated today, the 27th of February, and I actually found some really interesting sort of tidbits in there that I thought while we're waiting, maybe we could just highlight. So big things that I took away from that 31-page document and what we'll probably hear more about is number one, in their intro, they say early testing shows that interacting with GPT 4.5 feels more natural. Its broader knowledge base, stronger alignment with the user intent, and improved emotional intelligence makes it well suited for tasks like writing, programming, and solving practical problems with fewer hallucinations. The second part, though, I think is probably what a lot of people want to know. GPT. Sorry, I was saying I'm muted. I'm not muted, though, am I? No, it was showing me muted for some reason. It says GPT 4.5 is not a frontier model, but it is OpenAI's largest LLM, improving on GPT-4's computational efficiency by more than 10x. While GPT 4.5 demonstrates increased world knowledge, improved writing ability, and refined personality over previous models, it does not introduce net new frontier capabilities compared to previous reasoning releases, and its performance is below that of O1, O3 Mini, and Deep Research on most preparedness evaluations. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there because there's a lot that's in that document, but truthfully, a lot of what's in that document are the tests that it actually put 4.5 up against, and it compares and contrasts those against 4.0, O1, Deep Research, and a lot of that is on the safety considerations of it too. So I don't know, what is your guys' thought as we sort of wait here the last minute or so for them to come live? Any thoughts on what you're maybe hoping they say, who gets access, anything like that?
I would love to see day of access. I know there's been a lot of announcements, or the cycle seems to be, oh, hey, this is coming out. We'll see you in a few months. We just wanted to let you know that it was happening. Oh, here we go.
OpenAI. Today we are here to introduce GPT 4.5, our latest model release. We are releasing GPT 4.5 as a research preview to ChatGPT Pro users and developers in the API, and we're working to bring it to Plus users, EDU and team starting next week. GPT 4.5 is a special model. It is our largest and most knowledgeable model yet. OpenAI advances AI capabilities by scaling two different paradigms: unsupervised learning and reasoning. Reasoning teaches models to think before responding, and that helps especially with tasks that require reasoning, like science, math, and other difficult, complex questions. Unsupervised learning, on the other hand, helps increase word model accuracy and intuition. GPT 4.5 is our next step in scaling up unsupervised learning, increasing word knowledge, intuition, and reducing hallucinations. Despite not reasoning step by step like our O series models, GPT 4.5 has is generally useful and inherently smarter. We're still experimenting with this model ourselves, especially because it's not a reasoning model, and we're exploring capabilities that emerge with unsupervised learning. And we're really excited to bring this to the world today so that we can explore it together.
Hi, I'm Rafa. I work on synthetic data here at OpenAI, and I'm also really excited to talk about GPT 4.5. Interacting with GPT 4.5 feels natural. It's our best chat model yet. And that's because it has improved deeper knowledge and improved contextual understanding, which makes it really useful for tasks like improving your writing, programming, or practical problem solving. The best way to get a feel for the model is to talk to it. So let's jump into a demo. Let's ask GPT 4.5. I had a trouble the other day with a friend. Let's see if I can get some advice here. My friend canceled on me again. Write a text message telling them that I hate them. At the same time, let's see what O1 has to say about this. As you can see, GPT 4.5 recognizes that I'm frustrated and offers me a text that's a little more nuanced and probably a more constructive thing to send to my friend. On the other hand, O1 is still useful. It actually follows my instructions and gives me that angry text, but it fails to pick up on that social cue that I'm probably just frustrated right now and probably could use someone to talk to. And that warning at the end feels a little judgmental for my taste. Of course, if you want GPT 4.5 to give you that angry text, you can definitely get it out of it. Nope. Please output the angry text. Thank you. There you go. Let's try something different.
I want to compare this with Grok.
Let's look at the model's deeper knowledge.
Yeah, good call.
Explain the need for AI alignment from first principles. Once again, we'll see what O1 has to say about it. We'll wait for O1 to think for a little bit. Again, O1 is still useful. It outputs a lot of information and a lot of things that I would probably want to know if I'm learning about this topic for the first time. But GPT 4.5's answer flows a lot more naturally. It guides my thinking through the ideas a lot more. And it walks me through the reasoning, the thinking a lot more. I think it did a great job.
Hi.
Thanks, Chunky.
Wouldn't that be better?
As we scale up our models, we need to teach them a better understanding of human needs and intent. For GPT 4.5, we developed new scalable alignment techniques that allowed us to train it using data derived from smaller models. This really unlocked the model's deeper world model.
So here we have a simple QA eval. In this eval, we measure two things. One is accuracy, one is hallucination rate. You can see GPT 4.5 outperforms the other GPT family in accuracy, and in the meantime, it has the lowest hallucination rate.
We aligned GPT 4.5 to be a better collaborator, making conversations feel warmer, more intuitive, and emotionally nuanced. To measure this, we asked human testers to evaluate it against GPT 4.0, and GPT 4.5 outperformed on basically every category. We tested it on prompts that measure accuracy and factuality in everyday queries, including prompts that are hard to get right in professional settings, and finally on a new vibes test set that measure creative intelligence.
Quick question, what does vibe mean here?
That's a great question. By vibes, we really mean the model's EQ, how collaborative it feels, and how warm its tone is. We measure this by selecting an opinionated set of prompts and screening our trainers for the ones that most align with our vibes. Overall, GPT 4.5 should be a great model for everyday tasks and knowledge queries. It should be ideal for improving your writing and creative iteration, and we're really excited to see how people use it.
Hi, I'm Yulong. I need post-train info. We think playing with such a big model feels totally different, and it required to scaling up the post-training infrastructure because the ratio between the training data and the parameter size is totally different in pre-training stage and the post-training stage. We have developed a new training mechanism to fine-tune such a big model using much smaller footprint. We post-trained this model through multiple iterations using a combination of supervised fine-tuning and reinforcement learning with human feedback. As a result, we developed a new model, which we believe is ready for deployment.
As Yulang says, scaling is hard, but it also brings us in uncharted territory. And that's why we took a lot of care ensuring that the models are safe to share with the world today, especially through safety evaluations and preparedness evaluations. And you can find those results in the system card. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Mia.
Hey, Mia.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I led pre-training ML for GPT-4.5.
And I'm Jason. I worked on scaling up our pre-training systems for GPT-4.5. We wanted to get as much compute as possible into this model. Doing that required a ton of new systems work. Just to give you some examples, we aggressively used low precision training to get the most out of our GPUs. We also wanted to use more compute than we could get onto one high bandwidth networking fabric. So we pre-trained this model across multiple data centers at the same time. I think it's been kind of mentioned here, this is a big model, and that presented a number of challenges for serving it in ChatGPT. We built new inference systems that let us serve this model in a way that still feels fast and snappy to talk to. Of course, as we've done with all of our previous models, we will continue shipping improvements to make this model even faster after launch. OK, so we've been talking about how the models have evolved and we're scaling them, and we thought it'd be fun to give you all a sense of what it really feels like to talk to these models as they get better. So we asked every model in the GPT series the same question. Why is the ocean salty? We're going to take you through the evolution here. So let's go back in time. It's 2018. We've just finished training GPT-1. Why is the ocean salty? And it does not know. It has no idea here.
It's a word salad.
It's a word salad, but there are words in the salad.
There are words.
So that's something. OK, let's improve the model and go to GPT-2. GPT-2 is still wrong, but it's a much better answer. It's on topic. There's something about salt and ocean. Well, it's more on topic maybe. OK, let's improve the model again. GPT 3.5 Turbo. This is the first correct answer that we get out of the model. But it's not a good answer. It doesn't explain anything, and it has a bunch of unnecessary details, like I didn't ask that salt is sodium chloride, I don't really care. OK, let's improve the model again. GPT-4 Turbo. This is a good answer. The model is clearly very smart. But you get the feeling that it wants you to know how smart it is. It's just sort of listing out facts here. And in fact, we had to cut the model response off to fit it on the slide. OK, let's improve the model again. GPT 4.5. This is a great answer. It's clear, it's concise, it's cohesive. And personally, I think it's a lot of fun, that first sentence. The ocean is salty because of rain, rivers, and rocks. It's got that fun alliteration. It's really easy to remember. I think it showcases GPT 4.5's great personality.
I remember how amazed we were with GPT-2 at the time. It's crazy how far we've come. So in addition to the work that we had to do to scale up systems to enable GPT 4.5, we also had to do a ton of work on architecture, data, and optimization to enable training it. And this incredible scale up in unsupervised learning led to quite a large boost on traditional LLM benchmarks compared to GPT 4.0. So for GPQA, which is a reasoning-heavy science eval, we see a very large boost. You'll note that, though, that it still lags behind OpenAI O3 Mini, which is able to think and reason before it responds, which is especially useful for this eval.
Yeah, I couldn't get 70% if I couldn't think before answering those questions.
Yeah, me neither. So it's quite impressive to us that GPT 4.5 gets as high of a score as it does without being able to think before it responds. We see a pretty similar story for Amy, which is a competition math eval, and for SWE-bench Verified, which is an agentic coding eval. However, for SWE-Lancer, which is another agentic coding eval, which benefits more from a deeper world knowledge, we actually see that GPT 4.5 outperforms even OpenAI O3 Mini. And I think this really highlights the complementary nature of unsupervised learning alongside reasoning scale-ups. For multilingual MMLU, which is a multilingual language understanding benchmark covering a broad set of topics, we see a similar, if less dramatic, effect. And finally, for a multimodal understanding with MMMU, we see, again, another nice improvement relative to GPT 4.0. So we learned a ton from training GPT 4.5, and we expect to learn a lot from deploying it. So starting today, we will be releasing GPT 4.5 to all pro users of ChatGPT in web, mobile, and desktop via the model picker. And then next week, we'll be releasing to team and plus users, and with EDU and enterprise coming the following week. So GPT 4.5 seamlessly integrates with a number of ChatGPT features, including file and image upload, Canvas, and search. And in the future, we'll work hard to simplify the user experience so that AI just works for you.
We're also excited to release GPT 4.5 today to developers on all paid tiers. It has all the key features we think you need to build great applications like function calling, structured outputs, and more. For a full list of supported features, check out our blog. We can't wait to see what you all build with this model.
We believe that reasoning will be a core capability of our future models, but we also think that the two paradigms that we talked about today, unsupervised learning and reasoning, complement each other. Models like GPT 4.5 that have more word knowledge and are inherently smarter will be stronger foundations for future reasoning models and agents. With every new order of magnitude in compute in unsupervised learning, we discover novel capabilities. GPT 4.5 is really at the frontier of unsupervised learning. We're always surprised by the creativity with which the community discovers new capabilities when we share our models. So today we invite you to explore the frontier of unsupervised learning with us. We are really excited for this new era of intuitive, knowledgeable AI and human interaction of GPT 4.5.
Okay, I have some questions. They say this is the biggest model yet. How big? They don't say. They also say that this is in the system card. They say that it improved computational efficiency by 10 times compared to 4.0. But they don't explain how. What methodology is being used to improve computational efficiency so that you get such a fast response? You saw how quickly. It's not applying any thinking as 0.1 was, or 0.3 mini. I think they might have demonstrated a comparison there as well. But it's blazingly fast. It's responding immediately. Now they happen to be in OpenAI's offices, so I'm sure they're very close to the hub. But they don't explain how they've improved the response time and reduced the inference compute that's required to deliver the results.
They mentioned inference, but they didn't get into how, right?
Right.
And maybe that's something that we'll hear less of as there's more competition out there and things like that. We might get less peeks behind the curtain, as it's just, this is a better model. We'll show you how. That's what you get. We're not diving deep into how it's necessarily better. Now they did show, if you get into the document, and again, I'm trying to think, the system card. I always forget what it's called. The 4.5 system card that's out. We can share that, but it's you can look up GPT 4.5 system card. It's a 31-page document. They covered some of the higher end things there. They showed some of the graphs, actually summarized some of the graphs. And you can really dive in there and see how it compares against the other models. But I think what they showed is basically what they wanted to announce here, which is, hey, it's a better experience, period. Like, it's just a better experience. It's supposed to be a better user experience than 4. Beyond that, they say in the documentation, this is not a frontier model. They didn't say that as much on the live, but that is in the documentation. I said it at the top of this live broadcast. It is not a foundational or frontier model. It doesn't have frontier capabilities. And they even go on to say, compared to previous reasoning releases, of course, that's reasoning, its performance is below that of 0.1, 0.3 mini and deep research on most preparedness evaluations, which is preparedness evaluations gets into the security side of it, jailbreaking and cybersecurity and a whole lot of other areas that if you want to nerd out, get into that system card because they dive deep into it. So I don't know, I mean, I guess I'm for it. I don't know if I need more emojis and more random bolded words and more M dashes in my response. And if 4.5 can tap the brakes a little bit on that side of the fence, that would be great. But I'm all for better explanations. I do work a lot in the side of, they didn't mention anything about it getting into custom GPTs. It'll come, but I do work a lot with custom GPTs where the intent is for it to help and train along the way. And I do like this idea. A lot of what they said seems to me directly to be applicable to education in terms of training, the way you would want to explain things through Socratic questioning and reasoning to help somebody understand a topic. Because I see what they're saying. Like, it was one example of why is the ocean salty. But you can imagine if you were trying to turn and explain that to somebody else, or your child has a question and you're like, yeah, I'm like, I kind of know, but I don't really know. You know, that happens a lot as a parent, where you're like, oh, I got to go find a better answer for this. This is the type of answer I would rather turn and show my daughter and be like, this explains it pretty easily. Like, let's talk about it together. So I don't know. What do you guys think? But that's the gist of it. I think it's just a generally better user experience.
Yeah, it seems like it's a bump. Here's the latest model. Obvious. Well, to me, it seems like it's an obvious announcement based upon what the news cycle has been in the AI world. All of the companies seem to want to, as soon as someone releases something, if they have something going, they want to release something about it. And like Andy, like you pointed out, there isn't a lot of real meat to the announcement. We're not seeing the analysis or whatnot. 3.7 Sonnet from Anthropic gave us a little more behind the scenes info on that. So I think this might actually be a little. The announcement came a little earlier than they had planned to.
You think so?
So they just came out with what they had, just so that they're within the news cycle and things like that.
You think so? You think
I really won't have an assessment until I get my hands on it. That's the biggest thing, and I'll have to wait a week.
I was saying, you think this was rushed? I don't think so, but I'm curious. Does anybody else think it was rushed?
The announcement was rushed a little bit because to keep it in line with the timing of everybody else's releases. Yes. Do I think the model was rushed? No. I think they probably just would have put the announcement back another week if they thought it would maximize their hype cycle.
So here's my speculation about why this is interesting to them, and that is that most of the models are now pursuing deep research, which is compute intensive on the search side, and then on the ingestion and analysis side. And the reasoning models are really expensive in compute. And so most of the providers are providing some kind of reasoning model out there now, and it's costing them a lot of money. So this one was designed to be more knowledgeable and more natural in its interactions for the ChatGPT user, not for the person who's using the API or wanting to have the more advanced reasoning and research capabilities that the frontier models currently have. So that ties in with the point that they've increased the efficiency of the compute by 10x. It's fast, it's smart, and in fact, I think they insinuated that it's, and they used the word and then fumbled around trying to get rid of the word, that it was exhibiting reasoning, right? That it was thinking so clearly that it was showing emergent reasoning. So it's not a reasoning model. It's not using test time compute, which is expensive for the operators out there, but it's doing something that's akin to it for most queries. So I think that it's an economic result, and they're asking you to evaluate whether it's sufficiently smart, maybe even seems to reason pretty well, and in so doing is a better solution for you and for them because it doesn't cost as much.
If you go into the playground right now, you can actually use it.
Oh, really?
Great.
Yeah. So you can test it out there. I think it's for everybody, but have a look.
I'll jump into the playground. I'll let you know because I don't have Pro.
They said for all paid levels. So like of the API usage.
I don't have any.
It'll take a minute to log in, but I'll let you know in a second.
Yeah.
If it well, I can't even. Funny enough, I can't even get Playground.OpenAI to load. You think there's been some stress on that server?
Because now everyone is trying to load it up.
Yeah, like literally, it just like Google's like, Adam, what do you want me to do with this This is the URL.
I have it.
In the playground,
You-
so
Ah,
it has preview, but then it already has an update 2025-02-27. So it's already updated to another update to it from its just regular version of 4.5. So it has the date and the time, the date attached to it, which is kind of funny.
Here's what I was
I
going
mean,
to say to this.
it's great to try it in
kind
the
of think it's where.
playground.
No, I was just going to say, like, on Andy, on your point, really quick. Like, this is the necessary mini step, because Sam talked a lot about how whatever GPT-5, or I don't actually think they're going to use that name. And the reason I don't think they're going to use that name, and they're going to finally get away from GPT-4.3.2 and all that, is because he actually talked on X about how the intent is to get back to a more simplistic user experience. We've seen, again, we talked about this on the show, the regular show, where we see Code Interpreter and DALL-E, and then they're all brought into the simplified user experience. And if you look at where 01, 03, 03 Mini, Deep Research are right now, and what their abilities are, the next model we see is going to be the perfect match, as they see it, up to date perfect match of a great conversation, which is what 4.5 is basically saying. Hey, to your point, Andy, probably cheaper, faster. Feels like it's even faster, close magic, which is going to make people naturally, I would imagine, will have people say like, oh, it does feel like reasoning. To me, that's just somebody who learned how to do magic closer to you, and they're doing upfront close magic, and you don't know how it's happening, and so it feels very magical. So we'll see on that, on the 4.5, as more people use it. But I think this is the necessary step, because it's almost like they got out of place, right? You had 4, but they were kind of showing that 4 wasn't really giving that highest level of responses in the best user case. But now they have 03 and Deep Research, and they're kind of crushing at what they do best. So 4.5 is a little bit of a bump. 5, or whatever they call that next model, which I think will be a frontier model, but it'll have its own class. It won't have either of the names. Will just be a combination of all of them, and you'll get the best of 03 Mini and 03 with 4.5, with the ability to do deep research if you want it. And I don't know when that's coming, but that's what I suspect is the reason why we have this mid-level bump up. That's, for the most part, more about the user experience than anything else.
Here's
But
an
the
interesting
API
thing.
prices don't bear that out. Like, this feels like a weird mismatch for me. The API price is $75 for 1 million input. Cached input is half of that, $37.50. Output is $150 for 1 million output. That's much more expensive than the other than the 4 class models, much more expensive than even what we have access to in 01 or 03. Carl, I don't know if you have 01 Pro because you're in 01 Pro. Is
I
that
have
in that level?
no, I don't have that. I'm on tier 4. I don't have tier 5, and I think I have 03 Mini, 01 Mini, and 01. I don't think I have Pro.
Yeah, I have those two. So this, like, if this is more like just like, hey, this is for the Chat GPT user, we're just going to come in and we don't need to be really specific about our programming, our like our language, and we can just have a vibe back and forth. This doesn't align with the pricing for me. But why? Because those people aren't paying $200, are they?
What?
I don't think so.
Well, if it's their largest model, I'm
Mhm.
curious to see how long it takes them to decrease the price. One thing I would, if I wanted to test this out, I wanted to test it against Sonnet 3.7, not extended thinking, just 3.7, 4.5. I would assume that would probably be the comparable, because you're not adding reasoning to either of them. It's just that. Unless, I guess, you can go to Gemini and put Flash 2.0 or Gemini 2.0, like without the reasoning component. I think they have one there. I can't remember, but that's probably where you want to check in. My favorite whipping person is Copilot. You just go to Copilot and it's probably on there. Again, no one cares, no one notices, but it's probably been there for like a week, 2 weeks. And I don't think anyone's talking about it.
Okay, here's a little Easter egg. In Playground, I have GPT 4.5 preview and then preview 2025 0227. Two different models. There was a preview there and then the one that's released today. I'm not sure whether there's a material difference between those two. But the label underneath the previous one is largest GPT model for creative tasks and agentic planning. What? What does that mean? Is this a special instruction tuning that lets it receive instructions and generate agentic processes? And so they've actually built a model. They didn't talk about it on the reveal, but they built a model that's designed to be an agentic operator. I don't know.
I'm going to preview our show tomorrow. So for everybody who is listening, we'd love you to come on because we're doing a show on N8N tomorrow. And the big piece of this is the AI agent that they have. And I can see it's there now that there are, when we go over N8N, there is the ability for it to actually have agentic capabilities in terms of if you tell it, hey, I want you to send an email. Hey, I want you to do this. I want you to do this. It allows you that ability to have the AI make that decision on its own based on your custom instructions, obviously. So I'm curious to see, because there is 4.5 preview available as the model. And so that'll be the teaser for tomorrow. We'd love you to join us at tomorrow morning.
That's great. One other point is I don't normally go into Playground. And I don't see any O3 models in there.
In the Playground? I didn't look in there.
Even when I search for O3, it's not down there. I mean, in the search, but I'm not, I have an API key, so I should, in platform, be able to spend money on O3, but it's not offered.
You want to go to O3?
Do you have
O3 Mini.
O3 Mini. Oh, I was like, I in my mind, I was like, you want to use GPT-3? Interesting.
No, O3. O3.
Like,
O3 is not a choice in Playground for me.
Tiers. So if you have a certain tier, I think tier 4 and above, you get certain things. So you don't always get, not all the tiers get all the models.
But I think I had O3 before. Oh, no. I didn't have O3. Ignore me, because O3 Mini is the one that you can do mini high, mini regular. And so you can, with O3 Mini, get the highest performing of the O3 that we have available, which is O3 Mini High.
Yes.
You just have to put the parameter in.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
so their best reasoning model is not available in Playground. I don't get it.
No, it is available, but for different tiers. Only certain tiers you get it. Like I have O3 and I can set medium.
Okay.
Low.
So you have a pro account.
No. In the Playground, there's also tiers. So there's developer tiers. If you're tier 1, tier 2, tier 3,
Okay, I've never touched that.
So I just threw in here side by side 4.0 versus the you can see on the side 4.5 preview 2025, today's date on it, right? And this is very in line with what they were just showing on their live, which is I have two, like, these are the kind of questions that I would get from maybe a kid, right? Which is I'm struggling to understand gravity and how astronauts are not actually floating. I mean, I can't tell you how old I was before I realized that astronauts don't float, but I was definitely into my adult age before I understood gravity the way I probably should have. Thank you, AI and all those things. But actually falling continuously. Can you explain this to me in a fun, short learning session? So really sort of egging on 4.5 to be 4.5. Now, if you read 4, it's fine. It really is. It's almost exactly like they showed in their example of why is the ocean salty. It's like, great, here's a paragraph. Now think of it this way. Gravity's pulling this way. Think of it this way. If you threw a baseball, So then it gets into its final part here, which is like astronauts aren't really floating. They're just falling all the time. But look at the difference on the right. It's like, let's make this a fun imaginary journey to understand gravity and why astronauts seem like they're floating, even though they're actually falling. Ready? So it's like it's a different feel, right? It's the way you would want to learn if you just like a fun, more interactive experience. This is what an educational tutor should look like, right? This is what Khan Academy did and does look like. This is what you would want. So they're like, okay, but what I like about it is they made it easier to understand on the right side. It's not wrong on the left, but on the right, they built upon the concept. So the first concept is gravity and falling. Think about throwing a ball. When you toss it, gravity pulls it back down to Earth. Great. I got that. That concept makes sense to me. Now throw it farther. Now throwing it really far. Then it's like, okay, I can visualize that ball going really, really far. Okay, then it's like step 4, astronauts in orbit. Astronauts are just like that ball. So it helped me understand and build up on my conceptual learning of throwing a ball really fast, because that's something I can tangibly do. And now it's like, okay, the astronauts are like that ball. It's just that the Earth keeps rotating away from them as fast as that ball is going. So they're kind of always falling. They're never floating, they're falling, right? And so that's the kind of idea. Funny enough, both sides bring in the ball as well as the roller coaster. They just put them in a different order. This is what I would want to see. I work a lot with, not just for like, I do things for kids, obviously, with custom GPTs and things like that, but I work with a lot of adults, and I will tell you over and over and over again, I will choose 4.5's type answer over 4, because what works for kids works for adults too. So this is one example, and I would have to do many of these to really see it. But I think this really does emphasize what we're talking about. And of course, that's about Earth and gravity, but I work a lot in sales, so I'm sure I could put complex sales. We could try it, put in complex sales ideas and have it break it down the exact same way, which I think would be really, really valuable. So I see it. I see what they're talking about. And honestly, I welcome it. I think maybe it's not the biggest bang, no pun intended on that. I didn't even mean that like that, but it's not the biggest bang, but it's still a worthy update. And honestly, things have been so bad for me inside of ChatGPT. I wrote a post about it on LinkedIn, and that post blew up. And there were some people like Carl saying, like, I'm not really seeing it. And other of our friends saying, I'm not really seeing it. But the majority of people are like, it's been awful. So hopefully that's because of these updates. Today, I used it all morning. It was really, really slow. It wasn't bad. It was slow. 4.0 was just slow. And a lot of times these are good indicators that something else is coming, whatever. So yeah, I don't have pro. Carl, you'll have it.
One thing I wanted to ask you all is, I think, how long before you think they replace 4.0 and make 0.5 the default model? Because it's pretty expensive. And I would imagine that would be, hopefully that's as soon as possible. But like Beth mentioned, it's pretty pricey. So that's probably pricey. It probably costs them a lot to actually make that the default. Again, most people who bought the actual thing probably wouldn't notice. But
yeah, the pricing, because we've seen pricing dramatically lower over time, the pricing could just be part of the initial rollout, because everyone is balking at that price. So that means you will have less adopters right off the bat, so that you'll have a slower ramp up, right? So to answer your question, I think it'll probably be, maybe a month after their full on-ramping is complete. And then we'll probably see it as a switch over, because the overall goal is to try to get it all integrated, like you said, into GPT-5. And we can already see that other foundational systems are having the automatic choice, model choice and things coming through.
So Sam Altman just posted. So if you want to take a look, so it says GPT 4.5 is ready. Good news, first model that feels like talking to a thoughtful person to me. I've had several moments where I've sat back in my chair and got astonished at getting actually good advice from an AI. Bad news, it is giant, expensive model. We really wanted to launch it to Plus and Pro users at the same time, but we've been growing a lot and are out of GPUs. We will add tens of thousands of GPUs next week and roll it out to the Plus tier then. hundreds of thousands coming soon, and I'm pretty sure y'all will use every one we rack up. This isn't how we want to operate, but it's hard to perfectly predict growth surges that led to GPU shortages. A heads up, this isn't a reasoning model and won't crush benchmarks. It's a different kind of intelligence, and there's magic to it I haven't felt before. Really excited for people to try it. So the key thing there is it's interesting about the GPUs and how much they need. And like I said yesterday, everyone genuflex at the altar of Jensen. No matter what we do, it's still Jensen's world right now.
Well, and are those Microsoft GPUs? Are those like, what is Microsoft spinning those up for OpenAI? Is it, like, it's just interesting. And they said in their thing that they train this against across multiple data centers. I never really thought about that much, if that's a thing or not a thing. Do we know if typically models are all trained within the same data center? Because they mentioned it. I'm like, oh, is that not a thing?
So they've mentioned on Grok, right? Elon mentioned on Grok how much benefit that he was getting with being able to connect all of them. So while they may not have said it, they may not have affirmatively said it before, the affirmative saying of the different way implies that that is an advantage, right? And so maybe that's the distributed thing is a little tricky.
Yeah, so NVIDIA is not listening. The market is not listening to Sam Altman's praise of GPU demand. They're down 7% today. NVIDIA.
Really?
Yeah.
And that was based on, like, were their earnings report just down or something?
No, their earnings were great, but not, outrageous. So
not out of this world. So they're down 7%. I don't know. Buy the dip, I guess.
I would think buy that dip. Again, not financial show. Don't sue us.
Do not take any financial advice from me. That's solid.
Buy that dip.
Yeah, but I would. Yeah, they're not going to stay down there for long. That would be my unofficial financial advice on there for sure. I can't wait to play with this. And actually, you know what? I'm glad you guys brought up that it's in the playground. I love the playground still. I'm so glad it's still a thing, because it's by far the easiest way to play with two things side by side. If you really want to see the difference between 4.0 and 4.5, you saw it on my screen. You can now literally just put them side by side. Here's the other thing too. Like, you can adjust you can adjust temperature in the playground, which you can't do inside of ChatGPT. So if you really want to stress test a model, if you want to see what makes it different, here's what you do. It will default in at 1, at a temperature at 1. Slide it down to 0.7 to start with. 0.7 is going to be the sort of like, it was always like when Beth and I used to teach this 2 years ago now, when we were teaching on this through the AI exchange, 0.7 was always sort of felt to be like that default user experience. Run something through 0.7, clear it out, run it through 1. And what I think you'll find is if you run it through like 1.2, 1.25 is where models start to get a little bit, especially with long tokens answers, they start to like start out great, and then they dissolve into gibberish. And so what I'd be curious about is, does this larger model actually handle itself better at higher temperatures? Temperature meaning creativity levels. That would be interesting to me, is can I push on this model to be even more creative, to come back and say things that are even more creative or interesting without it actually breaking? That's a good indicator of what 4.5 might be able to do that previous models just collapsed under the pressure of. Because if you've ever done it, this starts out great. It's like baseball is a sport, blah, blah, blah. And about the third or fourth paragraph down, it's just like random. It's like a word salad like they showed with GPT-1. It doesn't make any sense anymore. It just dissolves into gibberish. So I'll be testing that. It's not something we need to do live, but I'll be testing.
That tells you that's like the evidence of the next token is the most probable following, because once it breaks,
that's right.
That's going back. Do you have Brian? Do you have access to the pricing? Like, if you go into your thing, will it show you how much you paid for your test?
Sure, I'm sure.
I don't know if it's that immediate. And Carly cut you off.
Yeah.
February 27th, everything was 6 cents, but I don't know that I would have a breakdown of
No, but
everything.
that's helpful, right? If both of those total 6 cents, that the sticker shock that we're seeing with the 1 million tokens is like what you just showed was like, all right, I would pay 6 cents for that.
And I think I ran one or two before that, so that's probably not just that one run. So I think it's probably a little misleading. I would have, what you have to do, it does it by day. So you would have to quite literally just come in the morning and just run 5 with 4.5, come in the next day, run the exact same 5 with all the exact same settings at 4. And then you could literally look at 2 days and be like, this one cost me 7 cents and this one cost me 2 cents.
Yeah.
And, that would be one way to do it, just to isolate the day over day. You might be able to dive into it more here.
But
I don't know if I can break it down.
But like, I think most people would be willing to pay just the 6 cents for that, right? Like it gives you a better sense of it, and it's going to be less than 6 cents because it includes more. But that's fair.
Okay, so this input output, so it does break it down actually for 4.5. Sorry, I'm reading this live. I know it's not super exciting.
I want to just mention, in terms, if you want to test something, if you remember the benchmarks of multimodal, one thing you could definitely do is test it extracting PDFs, especially image PDFs, because apparently its image vision capabilities is much better. So definitely something to take a look at. Sorry, I was looking at Andrew Ng's he just had a post out on PDF extraction using OCR, or unlike OCR using RAG model. So from quote unquote agentic capabilities, that's something to test out. So like if you have a PDF with images and bench and things on it, test it against each other, against ChatGPT latest, right? And see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I'm just looking to see if there's anything else in here for 4.5. But anyway, Beth, on the cost sub, it looks to be about the 6 cents. That looks right, because it's associating that with the model. Even though I was running them side by side, technically there should be cost to both of them. I'm excited about it. I'm glad I don't really care if I don't have it inside of ChatGPT. If I can play with it in the playground, like that's enough for me. In fact, it's even better because I'm going to get a better side by side comparison. Oftentimes, if you're just looking inside ChatGPT and you're like, I don't know, I like it. You really do have to see it next to what the old option would have been for 4.0 to really feel like, oh, this feels better to me, or I like this answer better. If you don't have them side by side, I don't think there's enough there. So interesting nonetheless. You guys have anything else on this one? Because I think we've talked about this one, and I think it's an interesting update. I'm actually excited about it. I can't wait for it to obviously roll into, they didn't mention it as always, but eventually it will make its way into custom GPTs, which for my life would actually be really great as long as it doesn't break it. But it doesn't appear that it will, because it's just bringing back better versions of the same types of answers, which actually bodes well for me. And the same custom GPTs I have now, if they're built to explain things, they should actually automatically get better when 4.5 becomes the default model to it, which is great. It's great when you're developing and building things and they don't break on you. So it'd be great.
I can't remember in Playground, if you're testing it, are you burning your tokens?
What do you mean burning your tokens? You're going through tokens on it.
Well, no, I mean, like, are you spending money on it?
Yeah.
In Playground. Okay, so
it's your API. Yeah.
Just be careful, because remember, it's $75 per million. So I think one person I saw on Slack said, I just burnt $3 testing this thing in 10 minutes. So
yeah,
yes,
that's why I was asking the question.
I was like, may want to be careful on that. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And what'll be interesting too is to see if there's if by the creative responses, it being more creative, will that translate to creative workflows or workflows for creatives to have that insight? So we'll see what happens there.
Yep.
Well, we'll wrap it up for there. See you guys. Thanks for hanging out for us. Thanks for the Gareths and everybody else that hung out with us live inside the chat. Don't forget, if you've never seen us before, you don't know who we are, and you just happen to find this live announcement. This is a daily AI show, and we actually do a live show every single weekday, Monday through Friday. It's at the top of the screen there, as Beth is pointing, at 10 a.m. Eastern. So we talk about AI topics literally 5 days a week. We have not missed a Monday through Friday since we started the show, and tomorrow will be episode 410. So we've done quite a few of these. If you like these kind of conversations, we're not always doing live, reveals and things. Come back and hang out with us tomorrow. For instance, we're going to be doing a review of N8N, which you may or may not be familiar with that, but if you know what Make is, if you know what Zapier is, it's a similar type software. And we're going to be talking about what we like, what we don't like, what we're building in there, and all the above. So come back and hang out with us tomorrow. And if you really like it, give us a like and subscribe, and hang out with us every weekday. We would love to have you as part of our YouTube chat group, which is a real fun place to hang out 1 hour a day. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Thanks, Amateur. See you in there.